Huge round of applause for all the interfaith leaders. Let him feel the power of Maharashtra. Come on, are now on the dais. Please welcome His Holiness Dalai Lama, Yog Rishi Baba Ramdev, Jain Acharya Kulchandra Ji Maharaj, Jain Acharya Namra Muni Ji Maharaj.
Respected elder spiritual brothers, no sister. And rest of brothers, sisters. Indeed, I am very, very happy to participate in this wonderful meeting. Firstly, these spiritual leaders, not only they carry their practice 1,000-year-old tradition seriously, but also they are quite active. Helping where some problem there, helping try to solve through non-violent way. So I very much appreciate. Sometimes we, spiritual practitioner, you see, the idea, vision, very good, but sometimes a little lacking actual action. So now these, my brothers, really very, very active. So I very much appreciate. Now, my usual sort of, what's a day, thinking, wherever I go, talk. Number one, I consider myself as one of the 7 billion human beings. Entire 7 billion human beings, mentally, emotionally, even physically, basically same. Like some of these spiritual brothers, a lot of hair here. Me, none. So these are minor differences. Basically, we are same. Physically also same. Now, important is entire 7 billion human beings want happiness, joyfulness. Nobody wants problem. However, a lot of problems which we are facing, east, west, south, north. Most of these problems, except problem due to nature disaster, and also is it due to global warming, some nature disaster happen. But many of the problems which we are facing is our own creation. So now, here, big contradiction. Nobody wants a problem, but ourselves, you see, creating a lot of problems. How? Here, our emotion. Among the emotions, there are positive emotions, destructive emotions. Most of these problems, man-made problems, I think sometimes I is mentioning, you see, man-made, that means female, not also the creating problem. No. But at least now here, only men, so I can say man-made problem. Most of the problem, actually our own creation. With too much destructive emotion, anger, and jealousy. These related with feeling of self-centered attitude, just to think of oneself, regardless what cause the effect to other. Sometimes you see too much self-centered attitude, then fear comes. Fear creates irritation. Irritation creates anger. Anger creates violence. So now, time comes. See, when we talk peace, peace must achieve through inner peace. So now, violence related with anger, peace related with compassion. Where genuine compassion there, non-violence comes. So, this country, 1,000 years, the concept of Ahimsa. Ahimsa generally on the level of action. Now, any genuine non-violent action, Ahimsa action, related with Karuna. Where Karuna there, your verbal action, physical action, even mental action become non-violence. Too much self-centered attitude here. Then outwardly looks non-violence, but for example, with self-centered attitude, try to cheat other people and use some nice word and artificial smile and sometimes some gift. Looks non-violence, but because of their motivation, try to cheat them. So it's essentially violence. Now, a sensible, good mother or teacher, including my own teacher when I studied, say, I was quite a lazy student. So occasionally my teacher showing me little sort of harsh attitude. But that, out of sense of concern of my study, my well-being, so this little bit of harsh attitude is actually non-violent. So demarcation, violence and non-violence entirely depend on motivation. Now when we talk Ahimsa, we must pay more attention about Karuna. Now here, over 30 years, I have several sort of discussion with scientists, mainly cosmology, neurobiology, and then physics, particularly quantum physics, then psychology. So then, some occasion, now scientists, they say, basic human nature is more compassionate. They have sort of a lot of reasons to describe human basic nature is more compassionate. Now, for example, one occasion, I also participate in the discussion. So one picture cartoon picture. You see, one picture, you see two young children helping each other with smile. When that cartoon show to one infant child, 6-month-old, language not yet developed. I saw, you see, when that cartoon show or seeing by the infant smiling, that infant enjoy the action of love, showing affection. Then another cartoon, you see two children, negative attitude one another. That picture, you see, showing to that infant child. Oh, child, also, you see, looking unhappiness, resentment, something like that. Then, of course, most important, constant anger develop, fear develop, actually eating our immune system. Whereas more compassionate feeling there, your health will be good. So healthy body, healthy mind, very close. Then our common experience, 7 billion human beings come from their own mother. And of course, again scientists, they say, after birth, born, next few weeks, simply mother's physical touch is key factor for proper enlarging brain. So that's our life start, including those troublemakers now out of 7 billion human beings. These also come from their mother. So in their blood, the appreciation of love is there. So anyone who appreciates love, they naturally, you see, they cherish love and all have the seed of compassion. So from scientific finding and our common experience, then common sense, if we stay together here, in deep inside little jealousy, then we won't be happy. Sit together, open heart, and consider other spiritual brothers, sisters, and deal with other people honestly, truthfully, compassionately. Everybody get immense benefit. So your neighbor may be very rich, maybe millionaire, but in the family, even husband and wife, little jealousy, a little suspicion. That family never be happy. And poor, even beggar, full of trust among their sort of family member. Poor meal, accommodation, but feel very happy. So therefore, these are our common sense. Now use our common experience and then scientific finding. I feel when I heard basic human nature is more compassionate, and I really felt now there is hope Now the problem, existing education system, is a so-called modern education. India, this country also, you see, modern education come from West. I really feel at the time the India get independence, I think education, I think should involve some knowledgeable sort of Indian who have the ancient Indian knowledge. If that takes place, then modern India could be a little different. Now, because, you know, the existing modern education system is very much oriented about material value, not talking about our inner value. When inner value come, we totally rely on religious faith or religious belief. Now today, out of 7 billion human beings, around 1 billion non-believer. And then also among the 6 billion believer, also there are some strange believer also there. They just claim themselves as a follower of this religion, that religion. But day-to-day life, not very serious about the teaching of religion. So this, I feel, due to lack of education about our inner value. So now here, India have, I feel, great potential. Plus, modern education, you must pay more attention about ancient your knowledge about the human mind, about the human emotion, then how to tackle this emotion. That's part of ancient Indian knowledge. So, India can combine modern education, the modern technology, modern material development, plus education about our inner value, such as karuna. Not just relying on religious faith, but use our common sense, as I mentioned earlier. So from kindergarten level up to university level, I think eventually in education field should include education about our inner value, so that existing material-oriented sort of education bring us physical comfort. Then ancient Indian knowledge about mind, about inner world, that brings inner peace, inner value. So therefore, now last few years, with help of some Indian scholars and also many scientists, including European, American scientists, we fully now engage how to introduce in modern education field about education, about our inner value. Strictly, again, Indian tradition, secular way, not based on religion, but use of, as I mentioned earlier, common sense, these things. So India's constitution itself, very much based on secular. So according to Indian understanding, secular means not only respect all religions, but also respect non-believer. So according to that sort of concept, it can cover entire 7 billion human beings, including those 1 billion non-believer. So, I think once India introduce education system, which combination modern education and ancient Indian sort of knowledge or education about the inner world, then I think India really can make, I think, significant contribution for well-being of the 7 billion human beings. Then your neighbor, China, People's Republic of China, traditionally Buddhist country. Now today, China, around 400 million Buddhist population there. Many of these Chinese Buddhists now really showing interest about Tibetan Buddhism. Tibetan Buddhism is true lineage of Nalanda tradition. So like that, so once one of India's religion, that is Buddhism, I think cover whole Asia. Like that. So India, I think, can make certain, if it's China, you see, showing interest about, you see, India's, also the newly developed some kind of education, combination, modern education and ancient Indian sort of knowledge about mind, about emotion. Then I think combine India and China, over 2 billions, almost 2.5 billions. So that could be some significance for well-being of 7 billion human being, like that. So now, as a human being, we are social animal. At the modern time, the modern global economy, no national boundary. At the basic human value, these are cover entire 7 billion human beings. So therefore, as a human being, one of the human beings, in order to bring a peaceful world, in order to reduce these man-made problems, now we have to make effort to promote sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. I think through education and use our common sense properly, we can educate from kindergarten up to university level. So this is my number 1 commitment. Number 2 commitment, I am believer, I am Buddhist, and particularly follower of Nalanda tradition, Sanskrit tradition. So, then now spent 58 years in this country. I fully convinced now religious harmony is very possible. Now in this country, beside homegrown religion, that is Sangha philosophy, and Jain philosophy, then Buddhist philosophy, and later Sikhism, these are homegrown different religious traditions. Then beside that, from outside, Zoroastrianism, and then Judaism, Christianity, Islam come from outside. But equally enjoy now in this country. Now today, India, I think where all world major religious traditions live together, occasionally some problem. That's understandable. I usually say telling over 1 billion Indian, not a Buddhist sadhua. some mischievous people must be there. So some problem occasionally here and there, but overall picture of this country, I think religious harmony, not a political reason, but over 1,000 years, that tradition is, I think, very strong India's tradition. This, I say, must preserve. And now younger generation, I think this kind of meeting and among the scholars, serious discussions and this kind of meeting from time to time, you see, should take. So the 1,000-year-old our tradition from time to time should revive, should remind like that. So because this country, over a billion population, and India, frankly speaking, quite a complicated nation. But inside that, religious harmony is really marvelous. So therefore, I have full conviction, or the rest of the world, I think religious harmony is very possible and should make effort. It is indeed unthinkable. Besides man-made other problem, economy or political or national interest, these things, this is understandable. But religious faith also causing division and violence, unthinkable. Now in Syria, in some of these countries, between Muslim and Christian in Egypt, and some Muslim country, Syria, or here, you see Shia and Sunni. In India, almost, you see, no news, some sort of cause of conflict between Shia and Sunni. So therefore, today's world, besides, you see, other problem, which easily understandable, but religions also causing conflict. It's really, really sad, unthinkable. All major religious tradition is a source of, the immense inspiration over 2,000 years, and including Sangha philosophy, 3,000 years, like that. So therefore, the all major world religious tradition, religion of human being. So we human appreciate human love, human affection. Therefore, your time to go. Yes. Then come. Go. Come. Goodbye. Thank you. Okay. Another occasion. From time to time we will meet. Then we become, since many years, we become very close friends. So I always do this. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Babaji, good sir. One joy. Thank you. Continue.
Thank you. So India, I think religious harmony is concerned. I think India is only example. Whole, I think about 200 nations on this planet. I think India is the example. Different religious traditions can live together. So, as a guest of Indian government, longest guest of Indian government, I fully committed promotion of religious harmony. Wherever I go, I always telling, India is example. So, it is very possible, religious harmony, like that. So I usually describe myself as a messenger of ancient Indian tradition or Indian thought, like that. So already the religious harmony still very good. Now still pay more attention, like that. Then thirdly, of course, as a Tibetan, I have sort of serious sort of, how to say, concern, preservation of Tibetan knowledge, ancient knowledge. All knowledge comes from India. Since the 8th century, one of the top master of Nalanda, Chandrarakshita, he invited by Tibetan emperor, 8th century. He introduced Buddha Dharma according to Nalanda tradition. Over 1,000 years, we kept all this knowledge. Sometimes I jokingly telling people, India itself, for example, the Nalanda tradition, the Nalanda, I think with Nalanda institution ruined now, nothing there, some teachings there. So similarly, this ancient knowledge about Nalanda also is much neglected. During those centuries, we Tibetan, we kept all this knowledge which introduced by Chandrarakshita. So I usually describe, you Indian, traditionally our guru, we are chela. We not only chela, but also quite reliable chela. Truly. About 300 volumes text translated from India, including many Nalanda masters' writing. We still use this as a textbook. Memorize, you see, these root text. And then each word, you see, explain according Nalanda masters' commentary. And then we use extensively logic, pramana, Digna, Dharmakirti, and Chandrarakshita himself, and the Kamalashila. You see, they are writing about logic. We extensively study these things. So therefore, I think it is quite reasonable to say reliable chela. So then another thing, now these days, I fully committed, try to revival of ancient Indian knowledge. Religion, something different. This country is a many different religious traditions. But logic and knowledge about mind or psychology, these are common. We should consider these things, you see, academic subject. So I'm trying to revival of these ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So eventually should, as I mentioned earlier, combine modern education and ancient Indian thought, like that. So, as a chela of Indian Guru, it is my duty to make a report. That's all. Thank you.